In every generation there arise those who leave a mark upon the world, not by the size of their possessions, nor by the grandeur of their titles, but by the quality of their character. A character rooted in values that transcend the ordinary and the fleeting. A life lived with purpose, with deep conviction, and with an awareness of something greater than oneself. Today, we are reminded of an example, a model, if you will, of a life that continually calls to us, not merely through words, but through action. In a world that celebrates ambition, power, and self-promotion, the idea of humility often seems misplaced, even outdated. We are taught from an early age to strive for greatness, to climb the ladder of success, and to distinguish ourselves in a world that rewards those who stand out, who shine, who assert their presence with confidence. Humility, by contrast, is often viewed as a weakness, an absence of drive, a failure to take full advantage of the opportunities that life presents. Yet, if we take a closer look, we find that humility is not the absence of greatness, but its truest form. Humility is not a denial of one's abilities or accomplishments, but rather a proper understanding of them in the larger context of life. It is an acknowledgement that while one may have talents, skills, and resources, these are not the ultimate measure of a person's worth. Humility begins with the recognition that we are not the center of the universe, that we are part of a much larger, more intricate whole. It is a quiet acceptance of the fact that we are not self-made, that our success and progress are tied to the contributions of others, to the environments we are born into, and to the mysteries of life itself. The person who embodies humility does not seek the spotlight. They do not push themselves to the forefront of every situation, and they do not need the applause of others to feel validated. Instead, they possess a quiet confidence that comes not from the validation of others, but from a deep understanding of their own place in the world. They are not concerned with proving themselves because they know in their hearts that their value does not depend on external measures. Humility is, at its core, humility has a certain power. It has the power to connect us to others. Ego demands attention, recognition, and admiration. It breeds competition and fosters division. Humility, on the other hand, fosters unity, as it does not demand to be the center of attention, but instead draws others in and elevates them. There is an inherent strength in humility. They are secure in their own identity, and therefore they have the capacity to affirm and encourage others, lifting them up rather than tearing them down. One of the most profound effects of humility is its ability to disarm. In a world where power dynamics are constantly at play, where individuals often seek to dominate or control, humility offers a different way. The humble person does not use force. Humility also brings with it their point or to assert their will. Instead, they engage with others in a way that is, we are part of a much larger narrative, can be incredibly we become powerful, less likely to overinflate our own influence without the need less likely to take offense when people are naturally drawn to humility, and more likely because it is a rare and refreshing sense of grace and in a world that often seems obsessed in humility, power, we find the wisdom to recognize that life is not just about our own success, but about the success and well-being of challenges. Humility also allows us to see beyond our own narrow viewpoint with an open heart and value. Humility opens the door to every person to improvement and regardless of their status. It allows us to remain teachable and receptive to the lessons life has to offer. Moreover, humility allows for a deeper sense of gratitude. When we are humble, we recognize that everything we have, our health, humility helps us cultivate an attitude of gratitude, one that enables us to live with a greater sense of contentment and fulfillment. This gratitude, in turn, fuels a desire to give back, to share what we have with others, and to contribute to the well-being of the world around us. In a society that often prizes self-promotion and individualism, the example of humility stands in stark contrast. It challenges us to look beyond sacrifice as one of those virtues that we are part of counterintuitive in the world that often that our true value lies not in how we stand above others, it's to give up how we live a value, whether it be time, humility is not about security or even life itself, tending to wealth, and it is about recognizing our own worth. The message is the larger narrative, and the willingness for others because in the end, that is all self-sacrifice. Yet, us to recognize through humility that the challenge has been strengthened as our own. One that reveals us transformative ourselves is our own comfort, not as a weakness in the act, but as an sacrifice self-strength. We transcend our own desires and needs, choosing instead to serve, to give, and to uplift those around us. The power of self-sacrifice lies in its ability to transcend the boundaries of self-interest. In giving up something for the sake of another, we recognize that our lives are not isolated. We are not islands unto ourselves. Our actions affect those around us, and in turn, the actions of others affect us. And the strength found in self-sacrifice is not immediately apparent. It often requires a deep inner resolve, an understanding that to give of oneself may bring hardship, discomfort, or even suffering. Yet this very willingness to endure hardship for the benefit of others is where the true strength lies. In self-sacrifice, we are not seeking glory or recognition, and we are not motivated by the pursuit of personal gain. We are instead motivated by something much more profound. There is a unique kind of fulfillment that comes from self-sacrifice, a sense of purpose and satisfaction that cannot be found in the pursuit of personal gain. While the world may reward those who succeed at the expense of others, the true fulfillment of life comes not from what we accumulate, but from what we give away. The person who is willing to sacrifice for others discovers a sense of meaning and connection that cannot be achieved through selfish pursuits. It is in the selfless act that we find our greatest sense of purpose, and it is through such acts that we begin to transcend the limitations of our own small worlds and become part of a much larger, interconnected story. Furthermore, self-sacrifice has the power to transform not only the giver, but also the recipient. When we give of ourselves, we offer not just material support, but emotional and spiritual sustenance as well. Our sacrifice speaks to the person on the receiving end in a way that words cannot. It communicates that they are worthy of love and care, that they matter, and that their well-being is of importance. The recipient of self-sacrifice is touched, not just by the gift itself, but by the deeper meaning behind it. It is a powerful reminder that we are not alone, that we are part of something greater, and that there are people who are willing to put our needs before their own. In addition, self-sacrifice teaches us humility. It forces us to step outside our own needs and desires, and to recognize the worth of others. It reminds us that life is not just about our own comfort and success, but about the well-being of those around us. This humility, born from the willingness to give, enriches our understanding of what it means to be truly alive. We learn that the most fulfilling lives are those lived in service to others, those that transcend the ego and live for a greater cause. Self-sacrifice also teaches us about resilience. The act of giving up something of ourselves, whether it's time, resources, or comfort, often brings challenges. It demands endurance, patience, and the ability to persevere through discomfort. In doing so, we grow stronger. We learn that our capacity to love and to serve is not finite, that the more we give, the more we receive in return, not necessarily in material wealth, but in strength, wisdom, and a deep sense of peace that comes from knowing that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. In the face of adversity, self-sacrifice calls us to act with courage. It asks us to move beyond our own fears and to consider the needs of others, even when it is inconvenient or difficult. It is an invitation to rise above self-centeredness and to live with purpose and intentionality. Through self-sacrifice, we discover that the true strength lies not in holding on to what we have, but in the willingness to let go, to give, and to trust that in doing so, we create something far greater than ourselves. The importance of living out one's values cannot be overstated, yet it is often something that is easier said than done. In a world that constantly shifts and pulls us in different directions, it can be difficult to remain grounded in our convictions and to act in accordance with our deepest beliefs. We live in an age of distractions where the external pressures of society, culture, and even personal desire can easily lead us astray from the ideals we hold dear, yet it is precisely in living out our values consistently and authentically that we find our truest sense of self and our deepest purpose. Living according to one's values is a conscious act. It is not enough to simply espouse certain ideals. We must live them, breathe them, and make them manifest in the everyday moments of our lives. In a world that often measures success by external markers such as wealth, status, or fame, living by our values requires a different kind of courage. It requires us to stand firm in the face of societal pressures and to reject the notion that worth is determined by outward appearances or fleeting achievements. It asks us to redefine success, not in terms of what we accumulate or how others perceive us, but in how true we remain to the core principles that define who we are at our deepest level. When we live out our values, we are not concerned with seeking approval or recognition from others. Rather, we are focused on staying true to the inner compass that directs us toward a life of integrity and meaning. At times, living out our values can seem like a lonely road, especially when those values stand in contrast to the prevailing trends or expectations of the world around us. It can be easy to feel as though we are swimming upstream, opposing the current of popular opinion. However, it is in these moments of challenge that our values truly come to light. When we choose to act in alignment with our values, despite the pressure to conform, we not only affirm our own sense of integrity, but we also demonstrate to others that it is possible to live authentically, even when it is difficult. Living out our values also involves a deep sense of personal responsibility. It is easy to talk about values, to agree with them in theory, but much harder to live them consistently over time. This requires us to take ownership of our actions and decisions, to recognize that every choice we make reflects what we truly believe, even when no one else is watching. It is in the small, everyday choices that we demonstrate the strength of our values. Whether it is showing kindness to a stranger, standing up for what is right in the face of adversity, or choosing honesty over convenience, these are the moments that define who we are. It is not in the grand gestures or the public displays of virtue that our values shine most brightly, but in the quiet, consistent acts of integrity that we perform when no one is looking. Furthermore, living out our values is not just about personal integrity. It is also about creating a positive impact in the world around us. When we align our actions with our values, we become agents of change, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of others. Our values are not meant to be hoarded or kept to ourselves. They are meant to be shared, to be embodied in our interactions with others, and to influence the world around us for the better. When we live with authenticity and purpose, we inspire others to do the same. We show them that it is possible to live with integrity, to make decisions based on a deep sense of purpose, and to create a life that is truly meaningful. Living out our values also means accepting the responsibility to constantly evaluate and reflect on them. Our values may change over time as we grow, learn, and encounter new experiences. It is important, therefore, to engage in regular self-reflection, to ask ourselves whether our actions are truly aligned with the principles we hold most dear. This reflection is not meant to be a self-critical exercise, but rather an opportunity to deepen our understanding of who we are and what we stand for. Through this process, we can refine and clarify our values, ensuring that we remain true to them, even as we face the complexities of life. Moreover, living out our values requires a balance of strength and humility. Strength is needed to stand firm in our beliefs and to make difficult choices that reflect our deepest convictions, even when those choices are unpopular or come at a personal cost. Yet humility is equally important, for it allows us to acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we may not always get it right, and that there is always room for growth and learning. When we live by our values, we do not approach life with arrogance or pride. To live out one's values, it is about showing up each day with the intention to align our actions with our deepest convictions, knowing that even in moments of failure, our commitment to our values remains steadfast. Living out our values provides a deep sense of fulfillment that cannot be achieved through external success or material possessions. It is not the accumulation of wealth, accolades, or recognition that brings lasting peace, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing that we are living in accordance with what we believe to be true and right. When we live by our values, we tap into a wellspring of inner strength and resilience that sustains us through the ups and downs of life. It is through this commitment to our values that we find true meaning and purpose. A purpose. Compassion is perhaps one of the most powerful forces in the world, capable of breaking down walls, healing wounds, and transforming lives. In a world often filled with division, anger, and suffering, compassion acts as a bridge, a way of connecting people across differences, a means of reaching out to those in need, and a force that can heal even the deepest of wounds. Yet despite its profound power, compassion is often overlooked or underappreciated. In a society that frequently values strength, independence, and self-sufficiency, compassion can sometimes be viewed as a weakness, an emotion reserved for moments of personal crisis or suffering. However, true compassion is far from a weakness. At its core, compassion is about recognizing the suffering of others and choosing to respond with kindness and care. It is not just about feeling sympathy or pity for someone in pain. It is about engaging with that pain, acknowledging it, and offering something of ourselves in response. Compassion requires us to step outside of ourselves and our own concerns, to look beyond our immediate needs, and to see the humanity in others. It asks us to recognize that suffering is a part of the human experience and that no one is immune from hardship or pain. Compassion moves us to not only empathize with others, but to act on that empathy, to do something that alleviates their suffering, whether through words, actions, or simply a listening ear. One of the most profound aspects of compassion transcends barriers, whether they are physical, emotional, or cultural. The power of compassion also lies in its ability to heal not just others, but ourselves as well. When we extend compassion to someone else, we are not only easing their pain, we are also opening ourselves up to a deeper sense of meaning and fulfillment. Compassion invites us to step outside of our own concerns and focus on the needs of another, which in turn shifts our perspective on life. In a world that often emphasizes individual success and self-interest, compassion reminds us that there is more to life than what we can achieve for ourselves. It offers us the opportunity to live for something greater than ourselves, to find purpose in helping others, to find joy in lifting others up, and to find healing in the act of giving it. In this way, compassion becomes a gift, not only to the person receiving it, but also to the one offering it. However, true compassion also requires vulnerability. It asks us to open our hearts to the pain of others, to be willing to feel their suffering, and to let that suffering move us to action. It is not always easy. It can be painful to witness the suffering of others, and at times it can be overwhelming to know how to help. But it is precisely in these moments that compassion becomes a powerful force for change. When we allow ourselves to feel the pain of others and choose to respond with kindness, understanding, and action, we become part of the solution. We create a space where healing can occur, both for those we help and for ourselves. Compassion also has the power to transform relationships. In our daily lives, we often encounter people who are hurting, whether they are struggling with loss, facing personal challenges, or simply feeling disconnected or isolated. By offering compassion, we create a space for healing and connection. Compassion allows us to listen without judgment, to offer comfort without the need for words, and to be present in ways that make others feel seen and valued. It is through these acts of compassion that we build trust and deepen our relationships. In a broader sense, compassion can also have a ripple effect, spreading beyond individual interactions and influencing entire communities. When one person acts with compassion, it often inspires others to do the same. Compassion creates a culture of care, empathy, and kindness. Where people feel supported and valued, it has the power to transform not only individual lives, but entire communities. Creating spaces where people can thrive together, where differences are celebrated, and where collective well-being is prioritized. In this way, compassion is not just a personal virtue, but a communal force, one that has the potential to heal, unite, and transform society as a whole. The need for compassion has never been greater. In a world that is increasingly polarized, where the forces of division and fear seem to be growing stronger, compassion offers a different path, a path of understanding, empathy, and connection. It is a force that transcends the boundaries of ideology, politics, and identity, reminding us of our shared humanity and our mutual responsibility to one another. It asks us to move beyond our own limited perspectives and to consider the needs of others, to extend a hand to those who are suffering and to offer them the care and understanding they so desperately need. In this way, compassion is not only a powerful tool for healing, but also a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a world that is kinder, more just, and more compassionate.